This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1211, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
He's recording on his actual phone, everybody. That's why he sounds different. And Nashville, it's our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Hanging on by a healthy thread.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to work. You took recovery time.
I took some fun time off to recover from whatever sickness is making its way through Nashville.
You took fun time off of work to have fun, which got you sick, which then required you to take fun time off of work again to get better from getting sick from your fun time off of work.
To put myself in a NyQuil coma. Yes, that is what I did.
Yes, correct. So we're all here. We're all here for you, everybody. So let's see. This is Tuesday. It's a week past the election. Nobody's even talking about it anymore. The world has moved on, you know?
No one see it's not on anyone's mind in any capacity. But something has bothered me ever since last Tuesday.
What?
Well, I feel like I'm a pretty politically informed person.
Correct.
And I did not vote early for a variety of reasons, but I did show up on Tuesday morning before the polls open. I was at the door at 5:55, ready to do my civic duty.
Goodness.
I was in and out, and it's walking distance from my house. Nice little stroll. Came back, had some coffee, got about my day. Anyway, I get in the booth, and I feel like I'm pretty prepared to vote for even like the local stuff. You know, I mean, you guys know how it goes. It's a mix. We had a mayor vote coming, on the ballot.
Ooh.
Pretty big stuff. School board. I did all my research. I was not aware that there was also a special election for a new sheriff. Okay. Somehow I missed this. And so I'm like looking, and there's two names on the ballot for the new sheriff in town. Okay. Quite literally. And I'm like, all right, well, I can't, the sheriff seems important. I don't really know exactly what I know what the title is, but I don't know what the job entails, but it seems like I should know if I'm going to cast a vote here. I could have abstained, but that's not my style. So I pull up my phone, and we're voting in a middle school, and there's no cell service.
You can't pull out your phone. You're not allowed to do that.
What are they going to do? I pull out my phone.
I think you can. Hey, wait. Actually, let's talk about that. Is that illegal to pull your phone out?
In Florida, you cannot have your phone out. You can come in with like a pre-printed sheet of help you, navigate, but you can't have your phone out because you could be taking pictures.
Well, I've seen people share pictures of who they voted for, of the actual form of who they voted for.
That's not legal.
Ooh.
Well, either way, I'm breaking the law. There's no sitting sheriff, evidently. So who's gonna stop me? And so, I can't. I got no service, so I'm gonna have to go in blind. But all I know is these two gentlemen who are running for sheriff both have cool nicknames. They each have their name, and then in quotes a middle name, and the two middle names was somebody Rocky somebody, and the other one was somebody Peacemaker somebody. Okay,
Ooh.
No, it wasn't.
On the ballots, they both had cool nicknames. So I'm like, all right, it's a choice between Rocky and Peacemaker at this point. The only thing I have to go off of for their credentials is who has the coolest nickname. I mean, that's the only thing to make an informed decision here.
Correct.
Obviously, I'm choosing Peacemaker. It's not that Rocky isn't cool, right?
But you're a Christian.
And Peacemaker sounds like an old West sheriff, and I'm like, why not?
Or a Jewish carpenter sitting on a hill talking to people. That blessed are the peacemakers.
Amen.
Yeah. But I was kind of. I kind of pictured a guy who called his 6-shooter the Peacemaker, Either way, I went with my gut, rolled home, had my sticker on. I'm like, I should fire up the computer and see who these two guys are. This is my long story short is I feel like we should have the candidate's picture on the ballot. Okay.
Oh.
Because this would have solved it. The gentleman, Rocky, was in a police uniform, and I read his bio. He has over 30 years of law enforcement experience and quite a decorated past in law enforcement, and a pretty big vision of how to use city budget to upgrade the jails. Peacemaker who I voted for, was wearing an American flag cowboy hat and a bolo tie. Pretty big red flag. Pretty big red flag.
Red flag? That's a green flag.
He also had no law enforcement experience.
No.
And his platform, like the other sheriff, his platform was over 2 paragraphs long.
Right.
The other one said, the other one's platform, Peacemakers, was souls should not be enslaved. I will take down the system that enslaved me. Mind you,
Jesse.
he's wearing an American flag cowboy hat and a bow.
Jesse, you would.
I'll be honest though, Jesse, that does seem like the person you would vote for.
Oh my God.
I had, so all day.
Tell me it was a landslide for Rocky, please.
All day, people are worried about the presidential election. Not me. I'm not even thinking about it at all. I'm like, look, by the end of the day, I had come around to resolve myself. It was like, you know what? Maybe just one position in government. Let's have a wild card, Logan. Just one wild card. Let's spin that chamber, baby. Let's give Peacemaker a shot. What could go wrong? Then I looked on his website. It had like endorsements.
Oh.
Because that was bothering me all day. Like, what if this guy gets installed?
Because in local races, like a few dozen votes can make a difference.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
And like the only thing he had done is he had patented a fire escape ladder, and he's been living off that patent for a while. I don't know where he ran afoul and where his sense of vengeance came from, but it didn't matter. He had endorsements from a bunch of local families I'd never heard of. And then he had currently seeking endorsements from, and it was a murderer's row. I mean, everyone from Tucker. I mean, he was shooting his shot, man. He was shooting his shot. They all hadn't given endorsements, but he wanted voters to know he was seeking their endorsement. So the whole day I'm like, all right, I could wake up tomorrow and there could be this wild card sheriff. And maybe that's what society needs. You know, I had just resolved myself. Thankfully, Rocky won with about 85% of the votes.
Thank the Lord.
But guys, I think the candidate's picture should be on the ballot just in case you get American flag cowboy hat and bolo tie guy in for sheriff.
Yeah. I think judging people by their appearance alone is a great way to.
I'm just saying, maybe if they look professional, you know? Like the other guy was wearing a police uniform. He looked like he could hold the office of sheriff, you know?
Yeah.
Peacemaker, he could have been, you know, like Saul Goodman or you know, a wacky car dealer for all,
right.
You know. And I've run into my share of wacky car dealers.
There were a few amendments and different things for us that were important that I had known my position on, but there was a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't bother to research, and I was just doing wild card votes. To me, I'm like, I want to disrupt. Like, I think Florida has a monolithic government, like all houses, all Supreme Court, everything is like one party, right? And so I didn't really if I didn't have a strong opinion, I just voted against the party in power. I just I just feel like it's good to shake things up every once in a while.
Contrarian. See, I'm over there. I was a little bit concerned I was committing voter fraud when I was voting on Tuesday, because since I just moved, I just finally got my license changed, they couldn't find me in the system when I went to go register to vote. So I had to do this thing called provisional voting, and I've never heard of that. And I literally was thinking, is this what they talk about when people talk about voter fraud? Is this weird sort of...
You show up, you're not a registered voter in Tennessee, and they let you vote anyway, but said it's provisional.
I had to do a separate paperwork and stuff like that. And they said potentially my vote might not count. And I was like, but it could count is what I'm hearing. So
if we want it to count, when we look at it, if we want your vote to count, we'll let it count. Yeah.
So I might have committed voter fraud. My bad, guys. I was trying to be a good citizen. So I was worried about that all day while you were worrying about your fake sheriff.
Yeah, well, I'm on his website right now. His campaign slogan is "Together We Rise."
So true.
And one of the main under grassroots activism in action, a video to YouTube that says Virginia Beach sheriff candidate forcefully removed from court while seeking justice. Again, I don't know too much about his platform, but I was concerned about what I may have done.
He's not going to take any gruff from the system.
I want to know roughly how old is this man?
I'm just gonna put it to the podcast thread for everyone. The other guys are just going to randomly get this for some reason, but I sent you guys a link to his website. It's something to see.
A sight to behold.
He has his own symbol. He has his own. It looks like he's redesigned the police badge where it says.
Oh yeah, it's got a Jesus cross in the middle of it.
Yeah, it does.
And in the letters, the crosses.
Oh, this is exactly who I thought this was when you were describing him.
Yeah. Well, look, listen. Mind you, Peacemaker's also his nickname. So,
y'all, if you want to join along, just go to peacemakersheriff.org. That's the website, peacemakersheriff.org.
And I haven't done a deep dive into maybe he's got some good policies. I don't know. All I know, he's currently seeking endorsements from Dark Horse, Brett Weinstein, Tucker Carlson, and a number of high-profile individuals in Virginia politics.
It's a bold move to list that as seeking, like, it's like those. Did you see like a lot of the fundraising dinners and stuff? It'd be like, the whatever society, and it'd be like a huge picture of like President Trump, and it would say like President Donald J. Trump, and then like microscopically small under his name would be like invited. Like people are buying like dinner tickets to go hobnob with President Trump, and he wasn't coming.
I'm not gonna lie though. Had I run across this earlier, you might
have voted for him.
I might have been like, "Hey, man, Peacemaker's got some good ideas here." Like, yeah. I'm like disparaging the guy just because he's coming in hot with with the cross bolo. And is that not a bold hat to wear on your campaign?
It's a bold one. He's confident. You have to give him that.
Do
you think he gave himself the nickname Peacemaker, or do you think someone else came up with that for him?
Emily. Of course he gave himself the nickname Peacemaker.
It worked. Hey, in fairness, when I saw it on the ballot, I was like, all right, well, I'm in. It's the other guy. I know nothing about him other than that his nickname on the ballot, a legal document, is Peacemaker.
All right. Well, I don't know how to turn the page on that. Other than
do your homework.
Well, other speaking than that of a peacemaker, we could do that.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, there we go.
All right. You coming up later? Eugene Cho joins us. He's a former pastor. Now he's head of Bread for the World, and he literally an author. He is literally a peacemaker, and that's great.
Eugene Peacemaker Cho. That's what we always call him.
If you look him up, he also has a big American flag cowboy hat on. So
and the bolo tie. Don't forget the bolo tie.
All right, that's coming up. At the end of the show, we have a game. Is this a real holiday tradition, where we put Emily and Jesse's knowledge of obscure international holiday traditions to the test? Coming up next after this break, it's Slices. Discover Jesus throughout Scripture with the Jesus Bible. From Zondervan and Passion Publishing, the Jesus Bible lifts Jesus up as the lead story of the Bible and encourages you to faithfully follow him as you participate in his story. With over 1,000 articles and essays, this study Bible allows you to know Jesus more intimately, love him more passionately, and walk with him more faithfully. Find out more at thejesusbible.com. Today's show is also brought to you in part by Upside Down Kingdom Bible. Think deeply and love widely with the new NIV Upside Down Kingdom Bible. This study Bible provides readers with thoughtful, scripture-based notes from a diverse set of trusted Christian voices and explores difficult issues facing Christians today. With features that are honest, nuanced, and filled with grace, topics such as race and ethnicity, creation care, science, abortion, gender and sexuality, politics, and others. Learn more at UpsideDownKingdomBible.com or find it wherever books are sold. All right, it's time for
Slices.
What do you have, Jesse?
All right, so there is a radio station that is under some degree of criticism for conducting an interview with a notable poet. Now, the reason that this interview is under some degree of scrutiny is because that poet died in 2012. So the radio station, Off Radio Carco, tries to appeal to younger listeners in Poland. And they're doing that by replacing hosts with AI, like Gen Z sounding radio hosts. Now, that strategy has actually worked ever since they started experimenting with it. But the problem is the interview that they did was with a Polish Nobel laureate who, like I said, has been dead for about 12 years. And that was conducted with an AI version of that poet.
So AI was interviewing AI.
Yes, in the form of a dead poet. This did not go over well with listeners. It caused a huge controversy. What? And I can see what they're going for here, because I actually ran across something very strange this past week. Emily and I were talking about slice options. She just sent me this because we've all, I feel like, have encountered AI, especially in media, whether it's like a news article or a photo or like a fake video. It's not unsurprising that a radio station would try something like this. Have AI hosts, have AI guests, you know. And I'm not even saying just as like a thought experiment, as long as that's properly disclosed, which I think that was part of the problem here, is not they have some issues with people kind of being fooled by what was real and what wasn't. I don't have like any principally, opposition to it. But our good friend, JD, formerly creative at Relevant, who Cameron and I keep pretty close contact with, he was texting me this weekend. And he texted, we like to text about like internet mysteries and, ancient alien live shows and stuff, much to Cameron's chagrin.
Literally, he was at Ancient Aliens Live in downtown Orlando a week or two ago and sent Jesse and me a photo of it. Yeah.
And so but him and I like to kind of send around different kind of cool mysteries we find on the internet.
Yeah.
So he sent me one. And I was like, oh, this will be something I can go down this rabbit hole when I'm doing stuff over the weekend and I listen to pods, And so I searched it in Apple Podcasts and I was like, wow, there's a lot of podcasts that have episodes about this. I'm going to listen to one. But then I noticed something about a lot of these podcasts. One, the episodes that were released on this all came out around the same time. And two, the artwork for the episodes for the different shows, like Test Time with Ivy, Another Lecture, Quiz Up with Cliff Notes, Honey Badger Fact Time, Laid Back Learning. All of the artwork for these different podcasts had very attractive looking people, but their color scheme was pretty similar, like the hues of it. And if you look very closely, the images appeared to have that AI sheen on them. So it was like, okay, so these obviously aren't real people. This is AI generated photos. And then I clicked on one of the episodes and it's clear. Well, I wouldn't say clearly, but they are entirely AI episodes. These are fake AI podcasts that all did episodes on this one topic. And they're disguising themselves as real topics with real hosts. And I feel like if you were to just stumble upon one of these, you might actually be fooled to thinking that you're listening to an actual person when this is just some sort of, AI scheme to get podcast downloads. Have you guys ever run across anything like this?
Well, I mean, so, Google launched a notebook, which you can upload documents, links, about a topic or about any information, reports, PDF, anything. And it'll do a lot of, it'll help you do study guides. It'll do presentations. It'll help you all this stuff. But one of these little hidden features is it'll create a podcast episode around the content that you uploaded. And it's 2 podcast hosts. And I'm telling you, it is the most excellent content experience. It is shocking. Yeah. How human they are, how insightful they are, it's nuanced. It's better than so many human podcasts. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's like Emily and I have been playing with it for months and it's just like, this is a new era. I mean, this is a better content experience than just humbly, if she and I set out to try to do the exact same thing, it was far superior to what we would have done. And so it's just like, what do we think about this? As far as creating, creation. So
But at least you knew what you were ingesting. These are like out in the wild, right?
Right.
So out of just curiosity, I downloaded one, and started listening. And the whole conspiracy is about these notes that have been found in packaged food items or like in a tree in the woods, and they have these cryptic messages that people are trying to figure out. Anyway, it's like this story.
Is it real? Is the story real?
The story is real.
Okay,
but these podcasts about it are fake.
Sure.
I would assume they're just sort of like scraping Reddit for interesting, kind of trending topics and making episodes about it. But it you could tell it had some human touch, at least for like the prompts, because the host was like, this story starts when I was exploring an old house in the woods. It was like, this isn't just a primer on this topic that AI is generating. This is someone posing as if they have real life experience. Again, I have nothing principally wrong with it, but you could see how people could be easily sort of deceived by it.
Oh yeah. In this era of misinformation and, AI images of, real people, real world leaders doing things that they didn't do. And, and it's getting better and better and better every day. They're going from having 7 fingers to having 5. And, how are you going to be able to disseminate what's real and what's not? It's not some sci-fi future thing. It's like here,
Well, it was like that. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about a prominent Christian figure who posted an obviously AI video from supposedly showing one of the candidates making provocative comments about faith. And it was like, this is literally deceiving people,
Yeah. No, the comments were wild. Nobody thought it was fake.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Like the you were talking about, or this started because of the Poland radio show that you were talking about. And I was looking at that too when I sent it over. And there was a quote from Poland's Minister of Digitalization that I thought was really interesting.
Wait a second. Poland has a Minister of Digitalization?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to try to say his name?
Go for it.
There's a couple C's in there.
Give it a shot.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Krzysztof Gałakowski.
That's AI.
But that is not how it is spelled.
That's AI.
Anyways, no, but he posted about kind of this controversy that's been going on, and he said, although I am a fan of AI development, I believe that certain boundaries are being crossed more and more. The widespread use of AI must be done for people, not against them. And there's something about like AI being used for people, not against them, that I think is kind of what we're circling around of like.
Well, how is what Jesse's talking about against people? I don't get
not
that.
Against. I get like against them might not maybe isn't the right word. But the fact that it is like it could be seen as deceitful, like that they're not
trying to deceive them.
That's the part. It's like if we're going to use AI, that's fine, but you do need to, especially as it's still so new and things are getting so nuanced. Because you were talking about that notebook that we use. The first time I heard it, Cameron had sent it over to me. He didn't tell me it was AI, and so
on purpose. On purpose. I just said, "What do you think of this?" She thought it was. Say it. I'm sorry.
I thought it was NPR. Like it sounded so good.
So I just randomly plugged in a relevant article and it made a 9-minute podcast talking about a relevant article, and it sounded so professional and so good. Emily was like, "Oh my God, NPR's talking about one of our articles." And I was like. And then I told her, but like
and then
it was that deceitful. It was that good. It was crazy.
I was deceived.
Yes, I used it against you. Yes,
and I know this is something that a lot of, and I don't know how much just sort of the average media consumer thinks about it compared to people that are media professionals. But like, what do you think is going to be the distinguishing factor from the future of content when it comes to just AI that is almost human between content that actually is,
Hey, it's something Emily and I talk about almost daily about the future, the next era of digital media, which is the business we're in, and using tools to expand our productivity and our innovation, our impact. But like, where's the line of human led? Because like if you use the right tools today, I'm not talking about like someday down the road. Today, one creative person can do what 5 or 10 years ago it would have required a team of 5 or 6 to do, right? Yeah. And so, like where's that line? Where is the line moving forward? And we wrestle with that because it's like, in an era where things are changing, you want to be nimble and adjust and be smart with, overhead and revenue and things like that. And we don't need to staff positions we used to staff. I mean, that's the truth. Like, we used to pay college kids to transcribe interviews. And they enjoyed it because they were just part of the team and whatever. And it's a part-time job for them. I mean, now we have AI transcribe interviews. And obviously an editor goes through it and, checks it for accuracy, but it saves so much time and saves so much money. I mean, it's like free versus I have to pay some kid. Well, that job just got eliminated by AI. But again, we use it as a tool to make us more efficient and impactful versus it's creating content on it. So I don't know. We don't know what the line is. I'm pro innovation. I'm not scared of it, but the ethical thing of when does it cross a line into not being good anymore? I don't know.
The one void I think it's yet to cross, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it has, but I haven't encountered this, is when there's a good AI stand-up, a good AI stand-up comedy routine, I'll get nervous. But I feel like AI doesn't fully get humor yet. It can turn out jokes that are, but sometimes it's that's a human sensibility that a sense of humor, that I think takes some degree of humanity, because it's not just can it mimic the delivery and the construction of a setup and punchline? It's does it understand, can you teach it to understand what makes something funny other than a turn of phrase? I don't know, but that's one thing where I've seen bad attempts at AI at things that are funny, and it's it just doesn't. It literally doesn't get it.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen it do because even when we were playing with the Notebook podcast AI, I think we did put kind of one of our more, funny articles in there. Yeah. And it did not know. It was not good. It did not know how to handle it. So yeah, stand-up comedians, your job's safe. So you got that going for you.
I just put in ChatGPT, write church jokes that aren't cheesy but are actually funny. I just want to see what it would do.
Yeah, and
okay. Forgive my delivery, everybody, but I'm going to give you a couple examples here.
I'm nervous.
Ever notice how every Sunday you feel like God is calling you to the altar, but then realize it's just the post-church lunch rush calling? That's the joke.
So true. So good.
The greeter dilemma at churches. Greeters after service be like, do you know the name of that one guy with the beard? Which one? The one with the I've been here since Easter 2014 vibe? That's the joke. Here's another one. I haven't read these in advance. I'm just literally, okay. The church bulletin realities. Here we go. The church bulletin will tell you every ministry meeting except the one time you really need to know when the youth car wash fundraiser is. Been there.
That's what I'm saying.
Been there.
Because comedy uniquely relies on intuiting something about the human condition, right?
Yeah.
Right. It has to, because and it's a moving target. You can watch some stand up from the 80s or 10, 15 years ago holds up, but a lot doesn't. People's comic sensibilities change based on a variety of factors, but or across cultures. Sometimes, what's funny here isn't funny there because it takes such a high degree of understanding of just sort of humanity that I don't know how AI is going to be to cross that void. It's super intelligence, but obviously with comedy, it's possible to overthink it. You know what I mean?
Jesse, you know how there's always that one guy in the front row who says amen like he's trying to beat everyone to heaven? Sorry, that was another one. Sorry.
That's what but you get my point here. It's it's one thing churning out something in AP style or a polished NPR story or something that mimics the voice of Hemingway or something, right? It's another thing to actually create original material that will make people laugh,
It's all fun and games until you realize your friend who snuck out during worship time is now your small group leader.
That is a knee slapper.
Listen, anyone who's worried about the coming AI apocalypse, punch some comedy prompts into ChatGPT and you'll sleep better tonight.
Yeah.
Church coffee is either just enough to wake you up during the sermon or tastes like something Paul would have mentioned in his letter to the Romans.
AI may be able to beat us in global destruction and take over our digitized weapon systems and turn our militaries against us, but we would smoke it in a roast. We would smoke it.
Altar calls in 2024 be like, if you feel God calling you, come up front, or just scan this QR code. Good Lord.
We're safe.
Yeah. All right, I'm done now.
Mark's safe from AI comedy.
The listeners are like, where's that fast forward button? I'm done. I promise. Don't worry. All right. Emily, what do you have?
I do really quickly while we're on the AI train, I do want to talk about one thing that is actually really interesting about AI or unique about AI this year. The Beatles have been nominated for a Grammy this year for a song called Now and Then.
Aren't you dead?
Part of that song uses AI. And
that's the one where like Paul, they had like a partial recording, and then like Paul McCartney like finished it with AI, right?
Yes, yeah. So he like used it to kind of round it out, and so this is the first Grammy-nominated song for Record of the Year to use AI.
Wow. Okay, that opens a can of worms. Are the Grammys going to just now start awarding AI created music, or does it have to be human created music to win an award? That's interesting. I'm surprised it's nominated. Like,
I think here's the thing. I think it's because it's the Beatles, and I think it's like Paul McCartney it would be different, I think, because I think earlier, like last year, we were talking about, there's random people who are using AI to mimic like Drake's voice or something like that, but it wasn't a Drake song. This is a Beatles song, like a founding member of the Beatles made it. He just used AI to finish the instrumentation, singing, all of that. And so it's a little bit of a gray area, but it's like known he used AI to finish the song.
Well, it's like, I guess on one hand, there's AI all over Photoshop. There's AI and, audio editing software. And again, it's a tool. So how far is the line of tool versus, fake? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. All right. What do you actually have?
I wanted to talk about something that I think we all are aware of. I don't think anyone will be surprised by this. But 2024 will officially be the hottest year on record that we've ever had, which... I don't know if y'all remember. In recorded history. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I mean, again, this is no surprise. It was like 80 degrees on Halloween for most of the country. Like it has been a really hot summer, obviously, but then a really hot fall as well.
Hot girl summer.
Hot girl 2024 is really what's happening here. But what's most interesting about this is the first year that has kind of broken through the warming limit that scientists warned about. So the Paris Agreement, all these countries and nations came together saying we can't let the country get more than 1.5 degrees Celsius hotter. We passed it this year. And so a lot of scientists are saying we are now on the point of no return. And it's just going to
climate change?
With climate change. It's just going to keep getting hotter, keep getting bigger natural disasters, more natural disasters.
Great. Thanks for the uplifting final.
You're welcome. I mean, we can still call it hot girl summer, hot girl fall if we want to try to spin it fun, but
I am not a climate change denialist. I think it is
I think it's called a denier.
Yeah. Denier. I think it's an urgent matter that humanity needs to be very serious in addressing, But, so I'm qualifying what I'm saying with that. Okay. This is not me dismissing the scientific consensus. Yeah.
Correct.
But I also know that there is, I think sometimes warnings like this can have a counterintuitive impact where, obviously it's alarmist because it's alarming, right? But I also wonder how, what kind of impact this actually has in making people want to be proactive about, making a change. Because when they hear and I'm playing somewhat of a devil's advocate here, but even your reaction, Cameron, like, oh, great, another, bummer of a story. It's like, one, are people just going to be defeatist with it? Well, it's a point of no return. Or I've been hearing this every year for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying there isn't value for scientists to kind of make these proclamations, but is there a different way to position the problem that doesn't seem almost defeatist? Does that make sense? Like, I'm kind of thinking out loud here, but that's the constant thing you hear from people who don't want to take action is either one, well, I guess it's too late, or two, you've been telling me the same thing for years, you know?
Well, I mean, but factually, it has been getting hotter and hotter and hotter the way that they were expecting it. I think the notable thing about this proclamation is that this crossed the red line that scientists have been warning us about for 20 years. Like, that is a tipping point. And apparently this year we hit the tipping point, and that's new anyway.
And again, I'm not saying there's not value to throwing that out there, but I also think, or like making people aware of that. But I also think from like the climate change, when I say the climate change community, like individuals who that is like the forefront of their concern and their professional lives, you know, I also think there's got to be some kind of messaging that does have a degree of hope that, you know, is like, hey, here's what can be done to prevent further or a future. There's reason to be hopeful for, you know, whether it's some sort of innovation or, you know, clean technologies that are working, because sometimes I feel like the alarmist language, even if it's, you know, founded in true science, can like I said, can actually have a unintended kind of consequence in terms of people's behavior, you know?
Yeah. Maybe they just need to change not the message, but the messenger. Maybe they can get someone with a American flag cowboy hat and a bolo tie.
What we need is people who think outside the box. Some new blood. Peacemaker. You know,
cool. If the scientist delivering this had a cool nickname, like, you know, Professor Sebastian Bright Future Thomas. It was like, oh, Bright Future's got news for us. How bad could it be? He's Professor Bright Future. You know.
Fortunately, Bright Future's being like, guys, it's over. We're done. We're toast. Let's ask ChatGPT for some suggestions on how to message this more effectively.
Yeah,
all right.
There we go.
Okay. That'll do it for
Slices.
Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day, where we are covering the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. All right. After the break, Eugene Cho joins us. Can you quote Peter Griffin and St. Augustine? Are you a fan of Theo Von and the Nicene Creed? If so, Not the Sermon is the podcast for you. Join Jamie and Eric, a senior pastor and associate pastor, for a hilarious blend of comedy and theology. They roast church culture, parody modern worship, and discuss tough theological topics. This blend of the silly and the sacred is your new podcast obsession. Search for Not the Sermon anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's show is brought to you in part by Ricky Smiley's new book, Sideshow. Have you experienced devastating loss? Ricky Smiley, comedian and radio show host, shares his journey through grief and healing after losing his son and father to addiction in his new book, Sideshow. Discover hope, encouragement, and tools to practice how to hold the good with the grief, the past gifts with the present heartache, the hope with the hurt. Learn more about this autobiographical book that can serve as a helpful resource at sideshowbook.com. Our guest today is Eugene Cho. He's a former pastor. He's an author and now CEO of Bread for the World, an amazing organization. He works year-round advocating for those in need. The winter seasons are often extra hard on those struggling with food insecurity. So we talked to him about how to be the hands and feet of Jesus to the people in our communities and why empathy is needed now more than ever. Here's Emily's conversation with Eugene Cho.
Well, you know, the price of food has been a pretty hot topic recently, and I feel like many people just have a hard time wrapping their mind around how bad food insecurity is for millions of Americans. Can you help sort of paint the picture of what is it like to experience food insecurity in the U.S.?
So right now, we have approximately 41.5 million people basically on food stamps, something called the SNAP program. There's another program called the Women, Infant, and Children program, which is also a federal program. My wife and I and our kids, we were on the WIC program many, many years ago. And it was a safety net. We went through a season of our lives when we were planting a church as a pastor, when things didn't quite go the way that we had envisioned and didn't have a paycheck. We didn't really have a church at that time, couldn't get a job. I was unemployed for a while. And I was so grateful for that federal program. And so you could say that we were an example in that season of our lives as a food insecure program. We weren't starving, but we weren't quite sure where we were going to get some of our next meal. It may not have been necessarily that absolute next meal, but as we were considering that week or certainly that month and we were budgeting, we had to make some really tough decisions about whether we spend our resources on electricity, on rent, and on food. And as a result, you begin to compromise your food, you begin to compromise your nutritional intake, and then you begin to have these really difficult decisions, like maybe we need to eat less in order for our children to eat more. So I want to say it one more time. Right now, 1 out of 10 households in the United States have difficulties putting food on the table. For Black households, for Indigenous families, the numbers are more than twice that. So it's really about the uncertainty of not knowing where your food is going to come. And it's not just the emotional toll, right, Emily? It's also, there's a toll that it has on our minds, on our emotional health, on our anxiety as well. And I think for many of us who don't understand food insecurity, we can get it intellectually. We understand the data. And I think we may even have a level of empathy. But unless you really have gone through it, you just don't quite grasp the anxiety that comes in when we're not quite sure how we're going to feed ourselves and to feed our children. Now, granted, there are these federal programs, and we're grateful for that. We have these food banks and church food pantries, and the list goes on. But clearly, what statistics and data and stories from neighbors, human beings that are going through this, what we know and learn is that it's just not enough. I'll give you one story. The SNAP program is the nation's largest, most substantive, most impactful program. And folks that are on SNAP, they basically tell you, and as a pastor, obviously I had congregants who were on the SNAP program. And there's two things that they would say. Number one is that they always felt a level of indignation or shame. And I was really saddened by even my leadership when you have congregants who were on food stamp programs and they just felt that they were unable to share that reality with others within that church. So there's still that, I think, dissonance, even in church communities, when we need to be more embracing and accepting and loving and empathetic. But the second thing that they shared that was really interesting is that across the board, their SNAP resources would expire. They would run out basically halfway through the month, or about 2.5 weeks into the month. And that's been verified by a lot of research. And so you've got folks that are eating 2.5 weeks into a month, and in the last 10 or so days, they're basically skimping by because they're just not quite sure how their food is going to come onto their dining tables.
I'm curious, how can the Big C Church help people without shaming them?
That's a great question. And that needs to be a podcast in itself, like an entire series. And so Emily and Eugene launches a new podcast on normalizing certain things. So I think there's a few things that would come up. And for one, I know maybe we are using this word a lot, but I love the fact that we're using this word a lot, and it's the word empathy. Is to place ourselves in the situation that others might be at. It's compassion, it's connection, it's to understand. And theologically, as Christians, this theology of the body of Christ, if anyone should get it it's got to be us. Like, this is part of our very identity. And so I think we've got to keep speaking about these things, and not just speaking about it as intellectual abstracts, but again, understanding that Jesus, our Lord and Savior, not just a good moral teacher, but the person that we say we follow, we see this deep empathy and compassion. And it's not just empathy and compassion, it's friendship and relationship. He chooses to engage in friendship and relationship. But I think one of the ways that we can normalize this is we can speak about it, particularly from stage and from the pulpit, in a way that it's not a project. Sometimes one of the most dangerous and unjust things, like, there's a danger in trying to do justice unjustly. And I think one of the ways in which we do this is that we treat those who struggle with hunger and poverty as projects. And people were never intended or meant to be projects. These are our mothers and fathers. These are our sisters and brothers. These are our uncles and aunts. These are part of our very community. Again, the body of Christ. I was really surprised that in a way that I wasn't expecting to, but when I was sharing a little bit about our hunger story, our hunger insecurity story, when I was sharing that we were on a federal program, like, it shocked some people, but it also gave people permission to say, hey, this is actually normal. And we go through seasons of our lives. Now, obviously, that's not the only story, right? We want to make sure that people have good jobs, good paying jobs, good health, and the list goes on. For me, the reason why hunger is such an important issue is that it fits in and aligns so much with what I believe to be a biblical mandate for human flourishing. Like, God desires for people to flourish, and flourishing can't be possible without right relationship with God, right relationship with one another, right relationship with creation. But we also know that, yes, it's true that man does not live on bread alone, but we also know that Jesus was deeply committed and had compassion for those physically, their bodies were not receiving enough food and nutrition, right? John chapter 6, where Jesus feeds the multitudes of people, he teaches, but he also has compassion on their physical bodies as well. And so I think that's a way that we can try to normalize and build more compassion and empathy.
That was Eugene Cho. Make sure to check out the work his organization does. Visit red.org. They're amazing. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's our game. Is this a real holiday tradition? Well, today's show is brought to you in part by World Vision. We all subscribe to a lot of services that make our lives easier and more entertaining. But as followers of Jesus, we should want to seek first the kingdom of God in all areas of life, including our spending. That's why I'm so excited about a new kind of subscription through World Vision. Not one for myself, but for others. It's called Believers for World Change. And when you sign up, you're joining a community of change makers working to help end extreme poverty around the world and here at home. World Vision is a Christian humanitarian organization that works with children, families, and communities to reach their God-given potential, focusing on things like gender equality, spiritual nurture, and access to clean water, education, job training, and healthcare, so the entire picture of poverty can be addressed. Let's subscribe to something new together. Subscribe to World Change today at worldvision.org. Again, that's worldvision.org. Well, Relevant has a lot happening this year, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter right there on the front page at relevantmagazine.com, and we'll send you our top 5 trending stories sent to your inbox every weekday. We'll also send you a weekly podcast newsletter with the latest episodes, some fan extras, and first peeks at the new shows that we're going to be rolling out throughout this year. Make sure to sign up. It's the best way to keep in touch with everything we got going on. Okay, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it is time for... Is it a real holiday tradition? All right, this is where I am going to tell you a holiday tradition, and you are going to tell me if this is real or not. I have the answers in front of me. Okay, here we go, Jesse. You're up first. The Christmas pickle. In this tradition, a pickle ornament is hidden on the Christmas tree, and the first person to find it receives good fortune for the following year. Is that real?
I'm pretty certain that is true.
That is real. The tradition is practiced in some parts of Germany and the U.S. Specifically, Pennsylvania Dutch, the German part of the U.S. So
the first thing I do whenever we get a Christmas tree is jam the contents of an entire jar of pickles deep inside the recesses of the tree.
Right.
And my family doesn't even know about the tradition.
They just don't understand how all of your Christmas trees at your home smell sour, and their friends and other people's Christmas trees smell lovely.
It smells like a deli down there. With vinegar. Delicious.
All right, Emily. All right, the tradition is called Maury Lude, which is translated as zombie horse caroling. In this tradition, people carry a horse skull on a pole, dressed with a sheet, and go door to door singing for treats. Is that real or fake?
I hope that is fake. That sounds terrifying.
That is real, and they do it in Wales. So there you go. Zombie
Welsh people.
Where do they get the horse skulls?
Probably from a dead horse.
Maybe.
But that brings me to my least favorite idiom is when people are like, not to beat a dead horse. Where did that come from? When were they beating horses to death to the point where they didn't even know and they had to come up with a whole saying about it? It's a very disturbing saying. I think we take it off the books, not to beat a dead horse. When did that even happen once? When did that happen?
Well, it sounds like you're beating a dead horse with this idiom that you don't like.
It's very disturbing to me.
Jesse, spiderweb Christmas trees. Families decorate their Christmas trees with artificial spider webs as a symbol of good fortune. Is that real or fake tradition?
That seems fake.
It is real. In the Ukraine, they do it.
Good for them.
All right, Emily, sweeping out spirits. On New Year's Eve, people sweep their houses thoroughly, then leave all the dust in a pile by the door until midnight, symbolizing the sweeping out of the year's misfortunes. Is that real or made up?
I'm going to go real.
It is made up.
Ugh.
Say, it sounds like a way to trick people into like your kids to do chores.
Tom Sawyer in this thing. Like, hey. Yeah.
Listen, it's Christmas Eve where we all clean the toilet bowls to flush away
the bad gifts.
Stuff. Yeah. So get to work, kids. Yeah.
All right, Jesse, the Christmas goat. A giant straw goat is built in the town square, often becoming the target of pranks and attempts to burn it down. Is that real or fake?
Isn't that that sounds like a sequel to like Midsummer, that Ari Aster movie? I'm going to say it's fake.
It is real. It is celebrated in Galv, Sweden. Specifically, it's called the Galv goat, and it's this one town that does it every year.
Well, that's where that movie took place, and it was a weird cultish village that had weird ceremonies with burning effigies, so that checks
Serious?
out.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Midsummer?
That's the plot of that film. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Emily, National Bear Hug Day. During the holiday season, it's customary for people to give bear hugs to everyone they meet in a gesture of warmth and friendliness.
I'm going to go fake.
That is fake.
Okay.
I think
it's
that's
not
called
a bad one, but it just seems odd.
It seems like it crosses some consent lines. It does not feel like...
in this day and age, yeah.
If this was pre-COVID, maybe, but post-COVID.
If it was just hug, I think bear hug. Because bear hug is almost... That's a line between like a wrestling move and a display of affection. Like a bear hug could be serious, you know?
All right, Jesse, people pull cabbage stalks from gardens, and the size, shape, and color of each cabbage is said to reveal fortunes for the coming year. Is that real or fake?
It sounds fake, but I don't even know anymore. I'm going to go real.
Real. In Scotland, they do this. So
again, it's a way to get like kids like to pick the cabbage. You know, like, hey, you might really have a good year. But anyway, that cabbage needs picking.
Yeah. Pick a few, see what kind of fortune you get.
Yeah. They're like, hey, kids,
you
you
missed
grab
one.
a cabbage soup tonight. But first off, go find out the fortunes and haul them back here for me.
Yeah.
all right, Emily, on January 5th, an old witch named Bifana flies around delivering small gifts to children who have been good, but if they've been naughty, she leaves a lump of coal. Bifana. Is that real or fake?
That's so specific. I'm going to go with fake.
It is real. It's celebrated in Italy leading up to Epiphany in January.
Okay. Sounds like I need to go to Italy on January 5th.
You're going to get some coal, but okay. All right. Last round. Here we go. Jesse, families visit a sauna on Christmas Eve to sweat out the stress and sins of the year before the celebrations begin.
I'm going to go fake, but I would like that. A sauna visit on Christmas Eve, sure.
With the family?
First of all, it's real, and it's in Finland, so you can go do a Finnish Christmas sauna.
These Nordic countries have the weirdest, they're up to the weirdest stuff. They go from the spa to a cabbage patch to burning of a goat effigy to some sort of witchcraft ceremony. It's very odd there.
Very odd. All right, last one. Emily, in preparation for Christmas dinner, people keep a live carp in their bathtub for a few days, believing it brings good luck before it becomes the main course. Is that real or fake?
A live carp in the bathtub?
For a few days before they eat it.
There's a lot happening here. See, here's the thing. If they're keeping it for days, if they only have one bathroom, that means no one's bathing. That feels gross. I'm going to go with real.
It is real. It's celebrated in Poland and the Czech Republic.
Listen, I'm not going to tell people what to do with their lives,
big
but
carp country.
Big carp country up there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. Okay. Happy
You're
holidays,
just going to have
everyone.
a big smelly Christmas dinner because nobody's bathed in 3 days.
Now I want to participate in all of these this year. Just implement them in Nashville.
Yeah, do them all so that you got a bunch of pickles jammed in the tree, live carp splashing around, and a bunch and numerous
a dead horse skull,
and numerous homages to witches. People will love it. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a broom. Get cleaning.
No, speaking of brooms, I'm reading this one. This is real. On Christmas Eve, families in Norway hide their brooms to prevent witches and evil spirits from flying away with them.
It sounds like there's a lot of concern with witches in Nordic countries around Christmas
and
time,
house cleaning. Yeah,
the Scandinavians are deeply concerned about witches this time of year.
Well, Krampus. I mean, this is kind of a famous one. I'm looking at it. It's on December 5th. People dress as a monstrous creature with horns, fangs, and claws, scaring misbehaving children in the streets of Austria and Germany. I remember, I learned about Krampus because of Dwight Schrute on The Office. But,
and he was normal, so. So you got the right takeaway.
All right, here we go. That'll do it for...
Is it a real holiday tradition?
Well, thanks again to Eugene Cho for joining us today. Make sure to check out their work and get involved at bread.org. Also, make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day, where we are covering the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. Lots of content is getting some traction these last couple weeks. It's really cool. Make sure to follow us on all the socials. And if you want our best content sent to you, you can get our free daily newsletter where we send you our top 5 trending stories every weekday morning. Just sign up right there at relevantmagazine.com. All right, on that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Terry.
I'm Emily Brown.
We'll see you on Friday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
I am not a climate change denialist.
Relevant Podcast Network.